These pearls of wisdom are brought to you by Carl Johnson and members of the Oyster Bay Church of Christ, located at 1044 Shadeville Road, which is 4 miles east of Crawfordville, Florida. An eye for an eye. Matthew 5:38 is a part of Jesus' Sermon on the Mount. The verse begins by saying, "You have heard that it was said, an eye for an eye and a tooth for a tooth." Jesus was referencing the Old Testament principle found in Exodus, Leviticus, and Deuteronomy, which is known as the law of retribution. This principle was intended to limit revenge by ensuring that the punishment for a crime would be proportionate to the offense committed. The idea was to prevent excessive retribution and promote fairness and justice. In ancient times, this principle was significant because it aimed to limit the scale of vengeance and prevent escalating cycles of violence. If someone injured another person, the injured party would not be allowed to exact a punishment that was more severe than the injury suffered. Instead, the punishment should be equivalent to the harm done. The law provided a standardized approach to justice that sought to balance the scales and guide judges and leaders in administering justice, curbing personal vendettas and excessive retribution. In Exodus 21:22, an interesting passage reads, "If men fight and hurt a woman with child, so that she gives birth prematurely, yet no harm follows, he shall surely be punished according as the woman's husband imposes on him, and he shall pay as the judges determine. But if any harm follows, then you shall give life for life, eye for eye, tooth for tooth, hand for hand, foot for foot, burn for burn, wound for wound, stripe for stripe." There are many things we can learn from this verse, but the main thing I want to bring to our attention is the legal status or value that God puts on the unborn child. This passage describes a situation where two men are fighting and accidentally injure a pregnant woman, causing her to give birth prematurely. Notice that the penalties are to be equivalent to the harm done. If the infant is killed, then the penalty would be life for life. And that was the penalty if the baby was killed accidentally. Today, there are millions of unborn children killed annually on purpose. Babies someone decided to kill. They are planned deaths. In the United States, according to Gallup polling, as of 2023, approximately 60% of Americans support the legality of abortion in some form. As said in Galatians 3:24, if the Old Testament was to be our schoolmaster, I believe today's society has forgotten what God has said about hands that shed innocent blood. Proverbs 6:16. According to Paul, the law served as a guardian or tutor to guide and protect the people until the coming of Christ. When Jesus does return, what do you think he will say about those who shed innocent blood so willingly today? These pearls of wisdom are brought to you by Carl Johnson and members of the Oyster Bay Church of Christ, located at 1044 Shadeville Road, which is 4 miles east of Crawfordville, Florida.